And here we are. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy new week. Happy March. It is a pleasure to see you this morning at Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we go hunting for fun news, interesting news that we can find from our city, state, and country. Then we go looking at your wonderful comments to see what you are up to. And we combine all this information and put it to good use as a community of English-speaking locals. Somehow, my little cartoon face failed to load this morning, so I'm happy to give you the guidelines, which you already know. If you're watching for the first time, if you're watching live for the first time, feel free to let us know by writing the word "new" in your comment. We'll give you a nice little welcome. And of course, if you have something important to share above and beyond your conversations among yourselves, it helps a great deal if you add a capital letter Q at the beginning of your comment. That way I can single your comments out during the comment section. With that said, oh my goodness, the good comments are already coming in. I love it. Mark Jennings, I think we're onto something with this idea of the origin story. Mark mentioned origin stories during our latest members only live broadcast, and coincidentally, I had scheduled a good origin story for our Saturday broadcast. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We have a lot to cover today, really interesting stuff, I think, so we might as well jump in and start with the new highway. Bahia Alterna published some aerial photos of the challenging terrain along the new Compostela to Las Varas stretch of the new highway, which is scheduled to open within the next few weeks. Now, from this angle, it doesn't look so extraordinary, but look at what happens when you look at it sideways. That is a tall bridge for Jalisco standards. I think it's really impressive. Now, again, I don't know how recent these photographs are. I certainly hope these are not like last weekend or something like that, because if you think about the fact that the new bridge is supposed to open within weeks, well, I guess we will have to wait and see, but it'll be exciting to go through that new road once it opens to the public. Now, here's something really interesting, or at least it's interesting to me. This news item comes from a Guadalajara source, and it showcases the other Colonia Americana. Let me explain. In 2022, Time Out magazine showcased Colonia Americana in Guadalajara as one of the world's most awesome neighborhoods in the world. In fact, I think they put it in first place. The name might confuse you. Colonia Americana is not so because there are a lot of Americanos living there, although the American consulate happens to be in Colonia Americana. That's just the name of the neighborhood. It is considered one of the best neighborhoods to live in statewide due to its ambience that combines traditional home living with new apartment buildings surrounded by funky businesses, shops, restaurants, green areas, and so forth. So this article refers to Colonia Versalles here in Puerto Vallarta as the other Colonia Americana, which is lovely. But what I find interesting is that the news source chose to showcase an apartment building as the top and only image in the article. This makes me wonder, what is it about Versalles that you like? Feel free to share in your comments, what is it about Colonia Versalles that you like? Or if you're not familiar with Colonia Versalles yet, feel free to let me know in your comments. This will be helpful information for something I'm up to in the near future. Personally, I can tell you what I don't like about Colonia Versalles, and it is the fact that all these buildings are being built and it's taking away from the charm of the Colonia, but I suppose that is what progress is all about. Now, you may be wondering if Time Out placed Colonia Americana in Guadalajara in first place, where on that list of best neighborhoods to live in the world was Colonia Versalles, if at all. Well, Colonia Versalles made the list of top 100 cool neighborhoods to live in around the world at number 51. How about that? Moving right along, our next news item has to do with the deadline for political parties to register their candidates for municipal positions, that is, for mayors and their cabinets. The deadline was yesterday. So when can we expect to find out? We can expect to find out, in the next few days with more precision, the names of all the different candidates from the different parties for Puerto Vallarta mayor. I think somebody is bound to put a concise guide to all the candidates. Some of the candidates have started making noise and campaign. So I'm going to wait until we have a clear idea of who all the candidates are to bring this to the table. But as an aside, and this is really sad, we mentioned last week that Susana Rodriguez, who has served as director for beach tourism in the state of Jalisco, and lately as the director of the Unirse municipality building in Fluvial, we announced that she was one of the candidates for federal deputy for our city. However, in a truly, truly sad turn of events, she passed away unexpectedly this past weekend of a heart attack. She was only 38 years of age. May she rest in peace. Now, continuing with a little bit of electoral news, we know that a certain someone north of the border has been making a lot of noise, allegedly protecting freedom of speech due to the fact that courts have implemented certain gag orders during his trials. Well, here in Mexico, the so-called veda electoral, or electoral ban, has begun, and it goes from March 1st until the election, and it indicates that the president of Mexico, along with all federals and state offices, are not allowed to talk about certain topics or participate in certain activities. And this has nothing to do with freedom of speech or lack of thereof. It is clearly indicated in Mexico's constitution. For example, President López Obrador is not allowed to talk about his government's accomplishments, inaugurate new projects, discuss political parties or candidates, or deliver any type of social support programs. Now, I don't know how this works in other countries, but here it is actually quite funny to watch politicians, and certainly to watch our president, slip comments here and there and then go, oops, sorry, only to be chastised by the Electoral College. And this continues until Election Day, which this year is June 2nd. Nothing to do with freedom of speech. It's just how our Mexican Constitution is establishing this issue. Now, believe it or not, 4 years ago, on February 27, the first COVID patient was identified in Mexico. He was a 35-year-old man who had recently traveled to Italy. And what followed, we already know, but today, 4 years after the pandemic began, and with Mexico registering the fourth highest number of deaths in the world, Mexican specialists can agree on one thing. COVID-19 was the worst tragedy to strike Mexico in all of its history. 4 years ago, it seems like it was forever ago. And only a few weeks after that, we launched Coffee and Headlines on Tuesday, March 31st of that year. So our 4th anniversary is also coming up. How would you like to celebrate it, if at all? Please feel free to share your comments about that. In the comment section, I have some things up my sleeve, but I am curious of your thoughts. But first, let us take a quick look at the weather. Where is my weather? Let me turn it on. Interesting. All things go wonky after the weekend. I did some, hey, where is the weather? Show me. There you go. So let's see what's going on with our weather. It says it's sunny out, yay sunburns. Well, that's okay. It is 23 degrees right now. Humidity is at 50%. And of course, our weather forecast for today says that we're going to enjoy clear skies throughout the day with a high of 28 and a low of 16. And then Tuesday, mostly cloudy skies throughout the day with a high of 28 and a low of 16. And finally, Wednesday, we're going to enjoy clear skies in the morning with mostly cloudy skies in the afternoon, a high temperature of 28 and a low temperature of 16. That is our weather for the next 3 days. Nice weather. Very quickly, a few announcements and a few additional items that I wish to share with you. We now have enough answers from our meet and greet survey. I think we can close this survey for now. Usually we get between, say, 40 to 65 people at a meet and greet, and we got over 60 answers to the survey, which gives me very, very clear idea of certain things that was very helpful. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. And okay, done. What I'd like to do now is look through the results. If you are curious about the results from the survey, just kindly write the word survey in your comment, and I'll be happy to put something together for tomorrow or the day after at the latest. Of course, today is Monday, and our friend Guda Gabor is at it again tonight at Nacho Daddy. And why do we mention this again? Well, because her show is a variety show, and so it's interesting because when you go to see Guda, you never see the same show because she always invites a good selection of performers from other venues. So it's kind of like a preview of their shows. Plus, Dr. Hartman, the wonderful pianist and accompanist and musical director and just an overall nice dude, is back in town and is back at the keyboard. I also want to remind you that Boma Fest, the wine festival, is coming up this week on Thursday. It starts on Thursday, I believe. Yes, Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. What a nice time to start drinking wine. I love it. You can start drinking wine on Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. That will be for the first conferences that they're going to have. You can learn more about this wine festival in the Facebook event, which I'm going to share with you. And of course, last but not least, before we get into my weekend escapade, we have Tony Bennett, his life and his music this week. We're repeating this by request. A lot of people loved this presentation, and I'm happy to repeat it. Some people requested it here at Coffee and Headlines, so we are happy to do this. This is Thursday from 5 to 6:45 or thereabouts at the Joint Boutique Hotel and Co-work. Hopefully, you'll be able to join us. And now, well, first of all, I want to make sure that you enjoyed our pre-recorded interview with Gary Green from this past Saturday. I love Gary and respect him so much for everything that he does in his public life as the director of the Amapas Neighborhood Association. And I love the fact that we're friends on Facebook because he's constantly posting of all his adventures through Mexico. I'm always green with envy, but in the best possible way, about all the trips that he does. So I certainly hope that you enjoyed the interview. And what was I up to while the interview was going on? Well, I discovered that some friends of mine that are visiting town, along with other friends that live here, had never been to Campestre Las Parotas, the wonderful outdoor restaurant located just outside of El Tuito. So I decided to play hooky rather. We called upon our favorite taxi driver who has all kinds of vehicles, from compact vehicles to vans large enough to fit 14. And we rented his services and decided to go to Campestre Las Parotas. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of what you can find at this place. As you can see, we are sitting in a completely outdoor environment protected by some shady canopies, but there's a reason why I mention it. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. First of all, where is this place located? Well, if you look at Puerto Vallarta, you have to head south along the highway. You have to get to El Tuito, which is the head of the municipality of Cabo Corrientes, just south of Puerto Vallarta. And just outside of the town, you find the restaurant. Now, if you look in the center of this photograph, look at this big group of shady trees. Now, these are the parota trees that provided shade at the restaurant until the latest hurricane in this season, the last one, I think it was Nora, completely destroyed the foliage of the trees. And this is, unfortunately, what the trees look like today. And it will take some time for all those branches to come back, but there are canopies to protect you from the shade. Now, what is Campestre Las Parotas? This is the brainchild of a dear friend of ours, Luis Tello, who is the husband of our dear friend Paul Christ from Hotel Mercurio. He, along with another business partner, decided to open this alfresco restaurant that specializes on traditional Mexican food that is cooked in standard clay dishes, clay cooking, and it's all traditional Mexican fare. It's a buffet. You get there and you pay 250. It's 250 pesos per person, and it's all you can eat. And there's all kinds of wonderful, yummy things to enjoy. The place is not easy to find, and maybe that's part of its charm. It only opens on Saturdays and Sundays. They start at about 8:30 in the morning, and it's one of those early buffets because by 10:30 on a Sunday, it's usually nuts with all kinds of locals going to enjoy the food. Prepared by a large number of Mexican cocineras, Mexican ladies that go and cook, and it is absolutely wonderful. As you can see, the tables are slices of old parota trees that have been repurposed, and you find these all around the sitting area. Some of them are cut in a rectangular fashion, others are just the whimsy of the shape of the trunks. And in the back of the restaurant, there's this is the cooking area. And so you walk over there and you grab a plate and you have all kinds of wonderful Mexican traditional goodies to enjoy, from birria to scrambled eggs to machaca to you name it. And there is coffee and other beverages. We enjoyed mimosas. It was absolutely wonderful. There are wild animals all over the place, and And again, it is a one of a kind experience that you won't find anywhere else. And I believe one of our friends said, this is the best Mexican food I've ever had in Puerto Vallarta. Every time I go, I want to show up either with a larger stomach or a Tupperware just because I want to bring some of the food home. And of course, there are places where you can take a photograph. Well, the whole place, you can take photographs. And as you can see in this image, there are some hammocks on the top level over here. And there are some other playground areas for kids to enjoy themselves. And of course, we now have to learn this little dance that our friend Nancy came up with. No, I'm just kidding. This is just one of those loopy photographs that I took with my camera. So it was absolutely fun. As always, I thank you for the opportunity of sneaking out for the day on Saturday after the restaurant. We enjoyed the early afternoon walking around downtown El Tuito, which unfortunately on Saturdays is not as lively as on Sundays, but it was a great time there. And I highly recommend this experience. It is challenging to get there in case you have never been. Once you get to the downtown, to the main intersection when you enter town, not where the sign is, you have to go to the old entrance to the town. There's a detour to the left, and you have to follow a dirt road for about 7 minutes, and then you get to the restaurant, which once again, it's in the middle of nowhere, but it is totally worth it. And that is what I bring to the table today. Let me take a quick look at your comments just to see what everyone is up to. Lots of good mornings. And yes, Lars, you are correct by saying that Nazi is the cutest. She is adorable. Let's see what else we have. I'm looking for Q's. Capital letter Q's, that is. There's a capital letter Q. This from Mark. Again, we mentioned this before. Thank you for Saturday's interview. Love the origin story. I think we're going to start collecting these origin stories, Mark, and put them somewhere that will inspire others. I'm still coming up with ideas, but hopefully something fun will come out of it. This does not have a Q, but I'm happy to know that What a Drag was successful. This is wonderful. And here's Gary. Gary, again, you are my new poster child for people to go exploring Mexico, even when their command of the Spanish language may not be as robust. Although I'm not entirely sure that everyone in the group is willing to get in as much trouble as you might have gotten during your trips. I could be wrong about that. But thank you again, Gary. I certainly hope the interview goes a long way to continue to promote all the wonderful work that Amapas Neighborhood Association is doing and is set to do for this current year. Let's see what else we have. There is a queue with an open question. Last year, when I visited Botanical Gardens, I paid for bus ride when I got on the bus, 55 pesos, and then paid at the entrance. Is that the same option, or do you have to purchase tickets in advance? Actually, as far as I know, Spencer, it's two separate things altogether. I mean, I don't know if the Botanical Gardens has its own bus service. I don't think they do. If you are referring to the city bus, you pay for that, and that is one thing, and then you pay for your entrance to the Botanical Garden at the Botanical Garden, and that is a separate fee altogether, as far as I know. John says, I know this is not related to Puerto Vallarta, but Popocatépetl is poofing again. This really concerns me. This has to do with one of the two large volcanoes located next to Mexico City, Popocatépetl and Ixtaccíhuatl. Ixtaccíhuatl has been dormant for many years, but Popocatépetl is bound to poof on a frequent basis. So yes, it is concerning. Sometimes those poofs make life challenging in surrounding areas, including Mexico City, when sometimes the what do you call the ashes collect on windshields and things like that. Can you post a link to the top 100 neighborhoods in the show notes, please? I'll be happy to look for that article. I know that we mentioned it last year, and I am sure that if you conduct a search through the show notes, you should be able to find it there, Lynn. But I'll give it my best effort, and I'll try to find it out on the internet as well. Renewing my membership. Much appreciated. Domo arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Betsy. I guess this is the part when you answer what do we do for commemorating our anniversary. Chris says, doing a yellow and red mango taste test this morning. Red mango wins in my personal opinion. Chris, there are several varieties of mangoes available in Mexico. Usually the larger the mercado or the municipal market, the more varieties you're bound to find in mango season. But I'm glad that you're getting around trying different mangoes. It is a fun thing to do. A number of you are looking for more information about the survey. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to share the findings tomorrow. And then there's another one. How about short clips of the past 3 years as a highlight? You know, it's funny because I've thought about collecting clips. And oh my goodness, that sounds like such a daunting, time-consuming expedition. But I'll see what I can do. It's over 1,000, well over 1,000 broadcasts that we have shared, ranging between 18 minutes to 45 minutes long each. So it's a tall order what you're suggesting, Spencer. Maybe we will go there. Maybe we will not. But thank you very much for the suggestion. Let's see what else. I think we are done with cues, which means we are done with our broadcast. As always, I am grateful for your comments and your time, and I'm grateful for your suggestions and your questions, and I'm grateful for another week of coffee and headlines. As always, I hope you'll have an amazing week. I hope you'll be kind, you'll be happy, you'll learn something, you eat well, and you'll share your love with your friends and loved ones. And I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.